You also met Jane Fallon while you were a college student. Yes. With whom have you been dating lately? Ever since. 35 years. Yes. Fans have been asking Ricky Gervais the same question for decades, and he finally answered it in 1964. Why he never got married after being with Jane Fallon for over 40 years. Ricky has always lived on his own terms, from his ascent in comedy to his candid opinions on life. And this is also true of his attitude to love. Come along as we examine the true motivations behind his decision and the tale of his enduring collaboration. I was born to wonder about everything. On June 25, 1961, Ricky Gervais was born in Reading, a town in the southern English county of Berkshire. He was raised in Whitley, a working-class neighborhood in a small suburb where families were dependent on one another despite having little money. Although life lacked glamour, it was genuine and full of personality. Ricky frequently talks about how, despite difficult financial circumstances, his early years were joyful, full of warmth and humor. The way he would subsequently view the world was shaped by that balance, struggling with money, but never with love or fun. His character was greatly influenced by his family. Lawrence Gervais, Ricky's father, is a Canadian. He was French-Canadian and employed on construction sites as a laborer and hod carrier, which entailed moving bulky bricks and cement. It was a physically demanding job that taught Ricky early on what it meant to work long hours merely to support a family. Ava, his mother, was of English descent. To care for Ricky and his siblings, she remained at home. Ricky was greatly influenced by Ava's lightning-fast wit and keen sense of humor. He has frequently said that there were always jokes, taunting, and laughing in the home where he was raised. He inherited his mother's sense of humor, particularly her ability to discover humor in ordinary situations. Out of the 4 children, Ricky was the youngest. He had 3 older siblings to look up to, learn from, and occasionally compete with because he was the youngest. There was constant chatter, noise, and activity in a 6-person household. He learned to think fast, speak up, and challenge things rather than take them at face value in this setting. His upbringing exposed him to a variety of viewpoints and voices, which fueled his curiosity. His perspective was shaped in part by his curiosity, his father's ruggedness, and his mother's humor. Ricky's teenage years were one of the most significant turning periods in his early life, and started considering religion. He was raised in a religious environment, like many kids, but he began to have doubts about it. The pivotal moment occurred when he posed a straightforward, yet challenging query to his mother. If God was all-powerful and compassionate, why would he allow children to die? He wasn't satisfied with his mother's response that he shouldn't question things like that. It was the start of an epiphany for Ricky. He came to the conclusion that he could not believe in anything if it could not be supported by logic or proof. He became an atheist after that day. The early years of Ricky Gervais reveal how a boy from a low-income family laid the groundwork for the fearless comic we know today through laughing and challenging questions. We'll then see how he transitioned from studying philosophy to pursuing a career in pop music. The pop idol who failed. In the early 1980s, Ricky Gervais attended University College London to study philosophy after graduating from high school. Though it would seem like an odd choice for someone who would go on to become a comic, philosophy was actually a good fit for him. Ricky was already interested in posing significant queries concerning truth, life, and human nature. Studying philosophy helped him develop the critical thinking abilities that would later influence his comedy and provided him with an organized method to investigate those issues. However, he also experimented with something quite distinct from humor or philosophy throughout those years. He made the decision to try his hand at music. Ricky made acquainted with Bill McRae while attending college. Siona Dancing is a pop duo that they formed together. The band was a part of the era's new wave music culture, which featured theatrical performances, fashionable attire, and synth-heavy sounds. While Bill was in charge of the keyboards and other technical aspects, Ricky assumed the role of lead singer. They were self-assured, ambitious, and prepared to pursue stardom. A certain self-belief that Ricky possessed enabled him to enter this new environment without reluctance. Signing with London Records, a reputable company that allowed them to record and release songs, appeared to be their big break in 1983. More to Lose was their most well-known tune. But the song didn't really make an impression in the UK. It didn't make it to the top of the charts, and Siona's Dance didn't stand out in the congested music industry. This could have meant the end of the dream for a lot of young musicians. However, it was more of an early lesson in the erratic nature of achievement for Ricky. More to Lose did achieve success, but not in the UK, which adds to the story's oddness. Somehow, the song found its way to the Philippines, where it rose to fame in the middle of the 1980s. There, it became somewhat of a cult hit, particularly with the youth. Many Filipino fans were unaware for years that Ricky Gervais was associated with the song's band. The issue was further compounded by the fact that the song was frequently played on local radio stations under a different name. Although this sudden celebrity was intriguing, Ricky's course at the moment remained unaffected. His career was unaffected by the song's delayed success because he was back in England and continuing with his life. The office that shocked Ricky Gervais focused on media as his career in music came to an end. He was hired by XFM, a London-based radio station renowned for its risk-taking and alternative sound. Here, Ricky got to know Stephen Merchant, a teenage intern. They could have appeared to be an odd couple at first. While Stephen was a recent college graduate, tall, ungainly, and still finding out his place in the profession, Ricky was older, sharp-tongued, and already confident in his comedic skills. However, Ricky noticed something in him right away. Stephen was obviously gifted as a writer, and he shared Ricky's sense of humor. As soon as their creative bond deepened, the two agreed to work together. Stephen and Ricky started working together to develop the concepts that would eventually become The Office. At the time, laugh tracks, exaggerated characters, and conventional setups were all common features of British television comedy. Stephen and Ricky had quite different ideas about what they wanted to pursue. They produced a show in the form of a mockumentary that seemed authentic. Awkward silences, commonplace annoyances, and achingly realistic people provided the humor instead of punchlines. This strategy was dangerous because it deviated from the norm for networks. It was difficult when they first proposed The Office to the BBC. The style of the presentation was distinctive and even unsettling to executives. The lengthy pauses, absence of pre-recorded laughter, and uncomfortable characters didn't conform to the norms of humor. Stephen and Ricky, however, were unwilling to make concessions. They kept to their concept, believing that the show's strength was its reality. The BBC finally gave them a chance. Television humor would never be the same after The Office's first season premiered in 2001. Ricky's portrayal of David Brent was the focal point of the episode. Brent worked for a slough-based paper manufacturer as the regional manager. He was self-centered, trying to fit in, and utterly ignorant of how uncomfortable and unpleasant he frequently was. For Ricky, the character was a breakthrough. Brent was not your average hero from a sitcom. He reflected insecurity and self-delusion in a very honest way. The show was both funny and unsettling since many viewers saw aspects of Brent in bosses they had known in their own lives. The Office's audience rose rapidly. Despite its initial season's low viewership, it garnered a devoted following thanks to positive reviews and word of mouth. The show was a hit by the time it was in its second season. It was praised for its uniqueness and went on to win several BAFTA awards. Audiences responded favorably to its blend of humor and realism, and critics hailed it as a breakthrough in television comedy. And Ricky was just getting started after The Office, going on to performances that demonstrated his ability to blend witty humor with genuine feeling. Transformed into Heartache. Many questioned if Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant could replicate the unprecedented success of The Office in terms of originality. With Extras, which came out in 2005, they took a different approach rather than attempting to replicate their previous work. The sitcom focused on Ricky's character, struggling actor Andy Millman, who takes on tiny gigs as an extra in the hopes of landing a major break. Extras was notable for its distinct blend of vulnerability and sarcasm. Real celebrities, such as Kate Winslet and Samuel L. Jackson, played exaggerated versions of themselves in each episode. These celebrities gave the show a lighthearted edge by making fun of their own reputations. Beneath the laughter, however, was a more profound tale of aspiration, uncertainty, and the need for approval. Andy was frequently uncomfortable, self-conscious, and irritable, and viewers identified with those very human imperfections. Extras demonstrated Ricky's ability to delve deeper into issues of celebrity and identity, going beyond workplace humor. Ricky and Derek took yet another innovative chance in 2012. The scathing cynicism that many people connected with him was a stark contrast to this series. Derek Noakes, portrayed by Ricky, is a kind but uncomfortable person who works in an assisted living facility for the elderly. The program exhibited tenderness, emotion, and occasionally sentimentality. It caught viewers off guard because they were accustomed to Ricky's more direct approach. Next was Afterlife, which debuted on Netflix in 2019 and swiftly rose to prominence as one of his most well-known pieces. Ricky portrayed Tony Johnson in the series, a local journalist who was grieving the loss of his wife. The show offered an unapologetic look at despair, bereavement, and the pursuit of meaning after loss by striking a mix between dark humor and unfiltered emotion. Additionally, Ricky gained notoriety for his uncensored speech off-screen as he became more daring in his narrative, which would soon lead to discussions all around the world. The worst nightmare in Hollywood. Comedy that hides behind tact or safe jokes is not Ricky Gervais' style. He has stated from the beginning of his career that he would rather cause discomfort than seem as though he agrees with concepts that he does not support. One of the things that sets him apart is his refusal to sugarcoat subjects. He believes that comedy is a place where the truth, even if it hurts, should be spoken honestly. According to Ricky, humor should push people rather than reassure them, and that frequently entails facing up to unpleasant realities. His understanding of the distinction between injury and offense forms a significant portion of his strategy. He frequently clarifies that being damaged is a real injury or injustice, whereas being offended is a personal response. According to Ricky, if someone finds a joke offensive, it doesn't necessarily indicate they've suffered any actual harm. According to him, humor should be allowed to address any topic, including politics, religion, death, and identity, as ignoring these subjects out of concern for offending others erodes the right to free speech. According to him, if the intention is to provoke thought in addition to laughter, then no topic should be off-limits. His frequent criticisms of political correctness are also fueled by this belief. Political correctness is censorship, in Ricky's opinion, where people are under pressure to keep quiet about specific topics in order to prevent criticism. He contends that rather than addressing actual issues, this restricts open discourse and fosters a fictitious sense of unity. He believes that comedy should be about exposing truths, no matter how difficult they may be, rather than about shielding emotions. That does not imply that he intends to cause harm to others, but it does indicate that he will not compromise his content in order to conform to social norms. Ricky has made full use of the additional platform that social media has provided for him to express his opinions. He frequently writes candidly about contentious topics on Twitter, engages in arguments with detractors, and addresses criticism with the same directness he does on stage. He has made both scathing jokes and important remarks regarding free speech on his Twitter account. People who respect his honesty have praised him for his uncensored conversations, while others who believe he is insensitive or cruel have criticized him. In any case, Ricky never backs down from a fight, and nothing better embodied this unafraid candor than the night he stunned Hollywood by taking the stage at the Golden Globes. Globe's unrestrained meltdown. Ricky Gervais hosted the 77th Golden Globe Awards on January 5, 2020, at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. This was not the first time he did it. This was his fourth time hosting. However, this evening was unique. Before the concert ever started, Ricky made it known that this would be his last time hosting. He felt somewhat liberated as a result. He wasn't concerned about keeping back for the sake of his profession, getting welcomed back, or appeasing famous people. He was free to say whatever he wanted, and he did. One of the most talked about moments in the history of the awards event was the subsequent monologue. Ricky's scathing, unrepentant speech, which lasted less than 8 minutes, took aim at influential people in Hollywood and beyond. The tone was established from the start. This would not be a pleasant evening of flattery. Rather, it was the most fearless Ricky. When Ricky brought up Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced businessman who had been accused of trafficking and subsequently died in prison, it was one of the night's most startling gags. Ricky remarked, "I know he was your friend," as he surveyed the gathering full of the top names in Hollywood. The directness of the comment obviously unnerved the crowd, as seen by their groans and uncomfortable laughing. Ricky retorted without wasting a beat, saying, "Stop talking. I don't care that he's your friend." Even though the room froze for a moment, Ricky continued without saying sorry. He continued after that. The biggest companies in the world, such as Apple, Amazon, and Disney, were also criticized by Ricky. He drew attention to the paradox that producers and actors create shows on morals and ethics, while working for businesses that are alleged to have unethical labor practices. He specifically brought up Apple's The Morning Show, which addresses worker ethics, before revealing that the company operates sweatshops in China. Although the remark clearly upset a lot of people in the room, it brought Ricky's argument to light. Justice is a topic that Hollywood likes to discuss, but frequently ignores the commercial fundamentals that underlie its success. He ended his monologue with a statement that encapsulated the evening. "You're in no position to lecture the public about anything," Ricky said, staring directly into the camera. "They should thank your agent, your God, and F off if they get an award," he told them bluntly, reminding them that most had attended school for less time than Greta Thunberg. It was an outspoken critique of the celebrity culture, which frequently exploits award shows as platforms for political comments. And when that evening was finished, Ricky kept up his embracing of the provocateur character by delving further into public discussions and disputes. The Backlash King. Ricky Gervais has never shied away from evoking strong emotions, and this has never been more evident than during what many consider to be his most contentious period. Ricky embraced Twitter as his personal stage as social media evolved. Unlike many celebrities, he did not use it as a stage for slick remarks or advertisements. Rather, he used it as an open journal, posting ideas, jokes, and direct comments on a wide range of topics, including politics and religion. He gained millions of followers with this strategy, but it also made news all the time. His blunt attitude frequently sparked contentious discussions with activists about religion, gender, and identity politics. The media and detractors. His jokes about transgender issues were one of the most contentious. Some have accused Ricky of being transphobic or insensitive due to content in his internet remarks or stand-up acts. Ricky maintains that these jokes do no harm to vulnerable communities, despite his detractors' claims to the contrary. According to him, comedy should be allowed to examine any topic, including gender and identity, and poking fun of a subject does not imply hatred or discrimination against a particular group. For him, the idea is straightforward. Comedy loses its integrity and intent if performers begin to steer clear of certain subjects out of fear. Although this defense hasn't stopped his detractors, it has demonstrated his resolve to uphold what he believes to be the comedian's responsibility. At the same time, Ricky is vocal about issues like animal rights, where a large number of people strongly agree with him. He regularly posts about shielding animals from brutality and abuse because he is an ardent supporter of animal welfare. He has made significant donations to charities and shelters, and he has used his notoriety to promote rescue groups and raise awareness of issues like the prohibition of trophy hunting. He has, nevertheless, had conflicts even here. Some animal rights advocates take issue with his language choices and the jokes he makes about delicate situations. Although some contend that his approach may turn off potential listeners, Ricky's reaction has consistently remained consistent. He thinks it's possible to be passionate about a cause and still use humor to discuss it. Ricky remained firmly in the forefront thanks to this combination of controversy and compassion. But behind it all was the unwavering support of Jane Fallon, Ricky's longtime partner and the person who knew him the best. Ricky Gervais has always had a quieter but equally significant side to his life, despite his tendency to be the loud, talkative person in the spotlight. Jane Fallon, his longtime partner. At University College London, the two initially crossed paths in the early 1980s. At the time, Jane was studying history, while Ricky was studying philosophy. Long before fame or wealth entered the picture, they were both still students when they first connected. In contrast to many relationships in the entertainment industry, theirs lasted and got stronger over the years after they began dating in 1982. They were still together over 40 years later, demonstrating that even in a field where partnerships frequently fail, stability is achievable. There is much more to Jane Fallon than just being Ricky's partner. She has established a solid and self-sufficient profession for herself. She began her career as a producer behind the scenes on television. She worked on some of the most popular television programs in Britain, such as EastEnders, which is one of the nation's longest-running soap operas. She also contributed to shows such as Teachers and This Life. which were praised for their realistic writing. She applied her storytelling and character development talents from her years working in television to her new career as a novelist. Jane has established herself as a well-known novelist in the field of modern fiction. After the popularity of her first book, Getting Rid of Matthew, she went on to write several other popular books, including Faking Friends, Tell Me a Secret, and Worst Idea Ever. Her stories, which are written with a keen sense of humor and attention to detail, frequently center on relationships, treachery, and personal challenges. Apart from Ricky's profession, Jane has built her own following and reputation. She has always valued her individuality, and Ricky has talked proudly about how she has established her own identity in the public sphere. Their strong value alignment is what distinguishes their partnership. Both of them have expressed a desire for privacy. It is uncommon in the field of entertainment. They want to keep their personal lives relatively private, don't frequently appear in tabloids, and don't look for limelight together. They both respect autonomy in their work and encourage one another's professional development without getting in the way. However, they appear to be held together by humor and respect for one another. While Jane has frequently referred to Ricky as the joy of her life, Ricky has stated that Jane makes him laugh every day. The pair has lived in Hampstead for many years and has created their life together in London. They can find a serene haven from the bustle of celebrity culture in this leafy area of the city. There, they lead a modest existence focused on small pleasures. They frequently share humorous events from their lives on social media and share their house with pets, most notably their cat. Even though Ricky is well known throughout the world, they have managed to live a private, grounded existence that is full of the things that are most important to them. For almost 40 years, Jane Fallon has been a source of stability and friendship for Ricky. They've created a life together that suits them, demonstrating that love doesn't necessarily have to abide by set norms. And one of the most significant decisions in their relationship has been their refusal to follow one of those customs, marriage. Why Jane and Ricky didn't get married. In their more than 4 decades together, Ricky Gervais and Jane Fallon have established one of the most enduring and well-respected partnerships in the entertainment industry. However, they have made it apparent that marriage has never been in their plans, even though they have a lengthy history together. They both agreed right away that they could demonstrate their love without a ceremony or a certificate. We don't require a certificate to prove our love, as Ricky has repeatedly stated. Their relationship is already sufficiently solid for them. It wouldn't be any stronger if it had a legal or religious designation. Their mutual rejection of conventional life scripts contributes to their choice. Despite the pressure on many couples to get married and have children, Ricky and Jane decided to go a different route. Early on, they made the decision that marriage was not important to them and that they did not desire children. Fear of commitment was not the reason behind this. The reverse was true. They felt that rather than relying on others' expectations, their relationship should be based on respect, trust, and free will. They have established a partnership that operates solely on their own terms by disregarding those scripts. Marriage feels more like a formality than a need to Ricky and Jane. According to them, love is not something that can be defined by formalities or rituals, but rather is something that is demonstrated daily via deeds, kindness, and loyalty. According to Ricky, their relationship already had the security, intimacy, and trust that marriage is supposed to provide. They believe that signing a document won't alter their current situation. Another significant factor is their atheism. The spiritual or sacred aspect of marriage is meaningless to Ricky and Jane because they are not religious. Marriage is often associated with religious beliefs, customs, or blessings for many couples. That aspect, however, doesn't apply to Ricky and Jane, whose ideals are grounded in reason and individual preference. The ritual itself seems pointless without that basis. The same bold honesty Ricky brings to his comedy is evident in their choice to forego marriage. It also emphasizes how he and Jane have created an enduring, unique, and entirely their own love story. And Ricky has always found humor in these decisions, frequently incorporating them into his comedies to keep his audience both laughing and thinking. The choice's comedy Ricky Gervais has always had a talent for making his own life funny, and his opinions about marriage are no different. He frequently makes jokes about it on stage and in interviews rather than taking the topic seriously. For Ricky, humor serves as a vehicle for expressing his true beliefs as well as a means of amusement. Even if others disagree with his personal choices, he makes them easy to grasp by making them humorous. Saying that marriage is a waste of paper is one of his favorite jokes. He believes that his lengthy relationship with Jane Fallon is not enhanced by the formal certificate that comes with marriage. He also makes fun of the theatrical nature of weddings, as couples invest time and money in rituals that don't genuinely improve their everyday lives. He truly believes that love should be about the bond between two people, not about customs or agreements, which is why these statements always make people chuckle. He also has the opportunity to highlight the ridiculousness of social pressure through comedy. Ricky frequently jokes about how shocked people get when they learn that he and Jane aren't married. On stage, he exaggerates their bewilderment while making fun of the notion that a relationship is only meaningful if it includes a wedding. By transforming those responses into tangible objects, he serves as a mirror for society, highlighting how odd it is to assess other people's contentment using outdated standards. For Ricky, avoiding marriage is a part of a larger theme of refusing to fit and that permeates his entire career. He doesn't feel compelled to live by the conventional script if it doesn't make sense to him, just as he doesn't edit his jokes to conform to political correctness. His defiance of social norms isn't about turning away from relationships or romantic relationships. It's about living truthfully and according to his own rules. He conveys his argument in a humorous and thought-provoking manner through comedy. Their tale demonstrates that contentment need not conform to conventional definitions. Neither do them have children or wedding rings. However, they have created a life that is full of respect, love, and trust. For them, those attributes are considerably more important than formalities or documentation. Their collaboration is a living example of how a relationship may flourish for decades without conforming to social norms. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more videos if you like this one.